good, Italian Job. How are you, brother?
Dude, I'm feeling well. I would normally say I'm feeling good, but I did week 1 of iron packs today, and I can't lift my arms. It was literally one of those. I struggled to wash my hair after the workout this morning. I felt like I needed to walk through a car wash or rub up against one of the brushes like cows do in the fields.
Yeah.
I'm feeling goodish.
Yeah.
I guess is my response.
I don't know. I haven't washed my hair in 20 some odd years, so I can't testify to that, but I can attest to the fact that week 0's in the bag, and I just found out I'm going to be doing it again tomorrow at Wakanda. I think I've called 911 no less than 6 times to help me up off the toilet later in the day. So we're all good. News of the Nation came out, read through that. Yeah, I'm fired up for the guys who are going to dive in next week to the next Grow Ruck 31. Looking forward to October when I'll be present at 32. Got a good contingency coming together there. Just excited to see a lot of guys I haven't spent time with under the log in quite some time. Today, I'm fired up by the fact that we've got a really great conversation with a high impact dude. I'm going to tee him up like this, and then we're going to just jump in cannonball style. Pure Lead has done something that most men in F3 Nation have seen come through the Twitter sphere, the Slackiverse, the News of the Nation podcast. You know, we've been all over with this guy. He initiated the F3 Freedom Prison Project. Hello Kitty had a great conversation with him. Man, if you're listening to our conversation now, please go back and listen to Pure Lead and Hello Kitty talk through that, because we don't want to rehash that. We want to learn how he did what he did and take the building blocks as well as the stumbling obstacles that he dealt with, and make sure that we are not only building the 43 feet of road. You know, Pure Lead has cleared the 43 feet of road. He is in the process of lighting the 43 feet of road. We want this conversation to be something that motivates men that hear it to move forward in whatever it is that they have their heart set on. So all that being said, Pure Lead, welcome to Stuff Worth Trying. Let's get into it. Name-a-rama, and then how long you've been doing F3 and how'd you get your name?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tommy Boy. Pure Lead here, Leonovsky 45. And I got my name. Wolf EH'd me. And my EH story, probably one of the most unique in F3. I got EH'd on the yard of Pelican Bay Supermax prison by Wolf. We were both volunteers, mind you. I've never been incarcerated myself, but we were going through a program called Hustle 2.0. And I asked him, as we were about to be let out after the first of 2 days, so what else do you do besides volunteer and support the guys on the inside? And he said, well, I do this workout with a bunch of guys, early morning, rain or shine. And it's the best community of men I've ever been in. And I said, sold. And that was it. I showed up the next Saturday after coming back from Pelican Bay, which is in California. And what happened was, it happened to be a Q school day, and our Nantan, God bless his soul, a former Nantan, Dig Dug, was queuing the school. And of course, one of the first, or at the end of the workout, he decided to recount the 5 rules of F3, right? So it's
5 core principles.
We all know,
yes, sir.
5 core principles, right? So first one is, it is free.
Free.
Second, it is
free.
Open to all men.
Mhm.
Number 3, it is rain or shine. Number 4, it is Pure Lead.
Mhm.
And it was a big circle.
Yep.
And so I misheard.
Ah.
And I'm like, Pure Lead. And then everybody laughed. And then I decided to ramp it up, because I'm from the Soviet Union. So I said, Pure Lead, kind of like cupping my hands, you know, below my belt, like Pure Lead. And he's like, that's your name. And I'm like, a what? I had no chance to share anything about me. And so I got this Pure Lead story, which hindsight is pretty interesting. I think it's a pretty decent name, all things considered.
Absolutely.
People are like, are you leading something? Like, what's your deal? And so, but yeah, that's my name. And then just a side note with the IPC, since we're all talking about IPC, I did Iron Packs last year. So just finished my week 0 today. And we have a unique thing happening here. One of our guys, softball, takes a cinder for those who finish and creates a logo for each individual man.
Wow.
That is connected to their name.
Oh, that's awesome.
I will post, I'll send you the pictures of, and this is like 50, 60 guys, right? Individual, all of them have F3 on it. All of them have a year that you finished, and then a unique label. So mine, he put the lead, the actual element, the square with the molecular weight, and then created a font, a Russian font, and had pure with red and black, and lead and pure with an R reversed. How about that?
Dude, that's fantastic.
Right? So I have my own cinder to hurt myself with. But yeah, so those of you who haven't done week 0, it is a doozy. Very simple and very, very terrible. So yeah.
I love it. I love it when any workout is described as simple or this is all we're going to do, ... So,
oh God
help me. Yeah.
I don't know about you guys. I got to say this about IPC week 1. At any point, did you feel like you're going to fall on your face during the Merkins? Like my last set of Merkins, about 2 or 3 times, I was like, "That's it. I'm about to lose my teeth on the pavement."
Are we talking about week 0 or week 1? Because
zero.
I was thinking, I was like, "How are you going for week 1 already?"
No,
okay,
week 0. See that the blood has not fully returned to where it should. The muscles, the brain, it's all foggy. You get it.
I have a magic word for F3, and one of my favorite words in F3 is modify as needed.
Mm-hmm. Sounds familiar.
I am honestly, I believe in safety above all else, and so I modify when needed. But yes, it was miserable, especially on the second round of Merkins.
Yeah, yes. I don't feel like going through Iron Packs and making a boat payment for my dentist in any form of reconstructive surgery. So I hear you. Well, listen, Pure Lead, let's do this. Quick update as far as the F3 Freedom Prison Project. What's new since it burst onto the overall F3 Nation scene?
Absolutely. You can, those of you who want updates all the time, go to the F3 Slack channel, F3 Nation Slack channel. We have our own little channel called F3 Freedom. We will update it as we can. To date, the whole idea, first of all, the mission of F3 Freedom Prison Project is to bring F3 programs and development programs into prisons, and through them transform those inside as well as the packs outside, and in the end, ultimately transform the prison system as we know it. And what we have right now is an AO that's been formed 4 weeks ago. Tomorrow will be its 4th workout. We have 6 people already, and it is growing really fast. We have highly dedicated guys who are running it. Mr. Miyagi is the guy who is really into it, and the goal of F3 Freedom Project is, or F3, F3 Freedom Project is that it has three elements. Number one, to bring the F3 workouts and programming such as Q-Source into prisons. That is key. Number 2 is to bring the guys from outside in for convergences, and in the process transform their life. I've been doing this kind of work for the last 3 years with Defy Ventures, another program before COVID hit. And people constantly say that it was the most impactful day of their life outside of the birth of their children and the marriage to their M. And number three, and in some ways it's the most important long-term, is that what we do when the guys are released. So we meet men at the door with a ruck that has clothes, shoes of their size, $50 gas card, and a schedule of the workouts near them. And they say, hey, start tomorrow, 5:30. And so the continuation of the process will continue. There is a lot more to it that can be done, but that is the seed that ultimately will bear fruit.
You know, that's the thought of, you know, we want to limit the barriers of entry. And, you know, when we call F3 free and open to all men, that's exactly what it means. It costs nothing, and it's open to all men, regardless of their circumstances, of their past or of their future. This is open to all men. Now, I'm assuming that when you guys started the project itself, the Freedom Prison Project, that there were some men that were a little bit apprehensive, or maybe their wives were a little bit apprehensive. I'm not sure if I really want you going in there, or maybe that in the back of your mind, I'm fearful of being in between the prison walls or working out with people I don't know. So I think today, maybe we get into the fear, the primal instinct of, do I want to try this new thing? It's something is uncomfortable. I don't know what that is. So I guess I'll start it off with, did you hear any of the men, or did you yourself feel any fear of the concept of, I'm going someplace uncomfortable with men I don't know, and I may not know the past, but I'm apprehensive and I have fear in my heart?
Yes, a great question, Italian Job. I will tell you my story of how I ended up in prison, air quotations for those of you who are listening. And it was in 2013. I was part of Toastmasters, and which is a leadership and communication organization. And I heard that there was a Toastmasters club, in fact, several, inside the Monroe Correctional Complex, which is a state prison about 20 miles north of Seattle, where I'm from, that it was kicking butt, the best in the district. And of course, you want to know what that is. Plus, I've never been to prison. It sounds interesting. I remember the first time I actually got through the security and through the double doors and they shut behind me, I had the moment.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what am I doing here? And there's a particular smell that prisons have, which is this kind of, I call it the clean, dirty smell. So it's all antiseptic, but it's not clean.
Yeah.
And so I was really afraid. At some point I thought I was going to lose my breakfast. But then I'll never forget this moment. And it's one of those pivotal moments that all of us have had in one way or the other. And that's, for the listeners, I really want you to challenge yourself to think of those moments or seek those moments out. So for me, the moment of transformation where I figured out what my daffodil was, and what my UOP is, right? Is when the men got cleared through their customs and were coming through the door. And I'll never forget this moment, because as the men started to come through, and there were about 5 volunteers, 5 of us, and started shaking my hand, I realized with a start that, A, these men are exactly like me. Number 2, I have never seen such gratitude just for me being there. And as I started to find out, is their hunger, those men who were there, I'm not making any generalizations, the men who came through those doors were dedicated to transforming their own life in a way that I have not seen myself or others. And since then, that was 2013, so almost 10 years. And in those 10 years, I have met hundreds of men inside with rap sheets longer than your arm, and things that I would otherwise say would make somebody what's the word? Like not able to be changed, right?
Yeah.
And I was wrong every single time. And it shows just how faulty the whole system is. and I can go into that further. But speaking of fear, since we're talking about fear, the number one thing that the guys on the inside have told me over and over again that they are afraid of. They are afraid of. You guys want to guess? What are those quote unquote hardened criminals? What are they afraid of? Tommy boy, Italian.
I'm gonna guess being vulnerable, or the day they get reintroduced to quote unquote society. Those are my two guesses.
Yeah, I was going to go off of that second one, which was, what do I do when I'm out, when I'm done? What am I don't know. I don't know what I don't know. Will I be accepted? And what happens next? The unknown.
Exactly. You're all 100% right. It is the fear of getting out. Without any doubt, you can have any guy is reduced to not being able to eat for the last 2 weeks. Not being able to hold food in. Imagine being out for 5 or 10 years and not knowing what a phone is. Some people 30 years. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And again, these people, people say, well, what kind of crime did they commit? Because, if they did just a drug thing, then I'll be okay. But if they did something terrible, then I'm not okay. There's no difference. And the program that we used to run, that we still run, called Defy Ventures inside the prisons. And for those of you who can look it up, defyventures.org is the organization that I used to work with, and I ran the Washington chapter. It's transformative because it does not care what you have done, because what you have done does not define who you are now. Yeah. Imagine what each of us would be if we were defined by the worst thing we've ever done. That is the only thing. And then the second fear that I see is the fear that they are going to go back in, right? And the system is set up to make sure that they come back. Just stop and think about it. The system is set up to make sure that they come back.
It's a business.
It's a business. It's a big business, and we'll talk more about it, but it's not private business. There is definitely private business to be had, but it's not privatized prisons. That's only 3% of all prisons is privatized. So that's a red herring. But there are large businesses that supply the programs, and for food, for example, or telecommunication, or all these other things that do profit. But mostly the system is the way it is because, let's be honest, DOC, using F3 jargon, is a leech organization, right? It's not a bullfrog. It is a straight up leech. And to change it is really, really hard. Not to mention that it was built on the whole concept. The whole system is built on a model of overseers inside a slave plantation. You can look it up. It is literally how they set it up. And so when you think about the legacy and why we have such a broken down system, there is a whole history behind it. And then there is the status quo. There are some really amazing people inside prison who transforming, who working against the system in order to support the guys on the inside. But it's not enough. And what is required to change the system are people with the voice. You and I and others who come in, have their minds changed, and then demand transformation. And that is why I am doing this, right? And so, yeah, fear is a huge factor here. And my fear was that I was going to get hurt. And people, my wife is okay with it. My parents, my Russian Jewish immigrant parents, they're like, Leo, why are you doing this? This is what I worked so hard for. This is what I brought you from the Soviet Union for, so you can go into prison. What's wrong with you, right? And my 95-year-old grandfather still asks me, right, what did you do? And I'm like, I teach. And they're like, what? Like, really, it's like the anathema for a Jewish mother. Like, I'm like, but people are like, are you afraid of being there? And I will tell you straight out that I feel there's no safer place for me than inside a prison. No safer place. Because the guys on the inside, they know that I'm there as a volunteer. And if anybody has any clue of wanting to do anything to me, they are dead, like dead. But more importantly, it's not even about that. It's that it changes the whole paradigm. When men like you and I come in and give grace to those who never got a first chance, much less the second chance, and then believe in them and lift them up, talk about picking up the six. It is a feeling unlike any other. If I could bottle it and sell it, right, we wouldn't be talking from, you know, in this thing. It is. So that's what I want to encourage your listeners to. If you're afraid of something, but you want it, but you're afraid of it, that's your ticket. That is your aha moment to go and do it, because that's where the gold is, right? That fear, it has to be afraid. It has to be difficult. It has to be against the odds or against the grain, and it has to piss some people off. If it's not, again, Dredd said it himself, the whole definition of leadership in Q-Source, right? It's not the person who is followed. It's the person who challenges the status quo for the benefit of his community. That is the definition. And so use that in order to do whatever it is that you are afraid of.
Yeah, it's the quote. I mean, what comes to mind is the life you're seeking is hidden in the thing that you're avoiding, right? It's I mean, I'm bastardizing the quote, but that's the gist of it. It's, you know, the magic that you're seeking is right there in front of your face. It just happens to be hiding inside of the thing or behind the thing that you're avoiding or that you don't want to do. And what you're doing and what you have done is put into real world action our credo. You know, you're not just going to the prison to be with the men. You're making sure that they're not left exactly as you found them. And in doing so, the same thing is happening to you. You're doing all the things that you had fear and apprehension of doing in the first place. And then realizing that your gesture, that inner voice that's telling you not to do it, or it's dangerous, or you're not going to benefit from this, or what the hell are you thinking, suddenly gets silenced by your ULP, your ultimate life purpose, saying, welcome to the party. It's about time you got here. I've been holding this door open the entire time, and I'm thrilled you're here. When you and I first talked a couple of weeks ago, Pure Lead, it, you know, fear became, you know, we called each other to talk about something completely different about this program. And very quickly, our conversation shifted to the things that we were afraid of doing, the things that brought fear into our existence. And the whole point of having you on Stuff Worth Trying is to lean into this concept of fear. We don't so much overcome our fears as we learn to use them as a positive force in our life to make great change. So are you going to have a process that you go through in naming your fear? And I think you just said it. It's the thing that you're most afraid of that brings you the most joy at the end of the day. And if that's it, great, we'll move on to our other questions. But
no, it's not it. And there's a better way that I can formulate it. In fact, it happened yesterday. We started, I'll put a plug in. We've been doing a virtual Q-Source ruck for the last year and a half or 2 years since COVID started. And so it's on Thursdays, every Thursday at 5:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And there is a call-in number, a Zoom number that men call in, and we talk about a Q-Source the same way as we would do in person. And in our conversations right now, we're just finishing up, just talking about the program itself and the concept of unmasking oneself or one's own insecurity came up. And I thought of a little play on words, and that is the goal. My greatest fear is I'm a mascot. I think all of us, and I'm naming it right now, all of us have the fear that what we're doing, we're just doing because of whatever ego thing or whatever job thing or whatnot. And I've thought of this, and I'm like, what I'm doing is unmascotting myself.
Love that.
Right? Unmasking myself. And and that's what we all need, is to unmascot ourselves, because we're all, in many times, we are mascots. And that's what Dredd said, that the first thing he had to do when he started doing, formulating this thing is to unmascot himself, to deal with his own mascot. And so it is a key. So that's what my greatest fear is that, and I think the way I deal with it is by moving forward and by engaging others, because I'm afraid that I don't have all the tools, right? It's one thing to say, well, I want to start this, but I don't know. I'm good on start, but I'm really not I'm more of a catalyst than a builder. And there are plenty of other people who are builders. So the idea here is like, yeah, you have a fear, you feel like a mascot. Great, build a team around you that will prove your own fear wrong, and make sure that happens. So just like we talked about F3, the best way to start working out is to join a group that will hold you accountable. I needed to learn how to meditate and stretch, and I wasn't doing it. So I started a virtual workout called F3 Flow, and we're over a year and a half into it, 12 to 12:30, Monday through Friday on Pacific Standard. And then, so yeah, you could, but then I have to do it. I'm going to be missing it today because of you all, but that's an exception to the rule. And so, yeah, the idea here is that get a team together. As soon as you are afraid of something, I formulate whatever the vision is, and then I know that I will feel like a mascot. I accept that, and then I build it out by asking others to join my team, which is what leadership is all about, as I, talk about Q-Source.
You're talking about Vape, and anybody who's spent time in a Shield Lock or spent time in Q-Source understands Vape. Anybody who's been through Grow Ruck has had Vape in their face, literally and figuratively.
I remember Vape, but do you want to break it up, if you know, not to put you on a spot, what Vape stands for?
It's funny because I'm looking at Italian Job looking at me like, go ahead, Tommy boy, screw it up again.
I know you're gonna do it.
I believe in you, Tommy boy.
I believe in you, Tommy boy.
Vape is to visualize it, which you just said. A is to articulate it to others. P is to persuade them to join you. And X is the exhortation to get it done.
I mean, it's E, but yeah.
What did I say? X? E. X. I still screwed it up. Dang.
I love it. I love the X, because it's like, it's just like, what? Like,
see, I'm starting my own thing. Yeah, I'm starting my own thing. It's called F4, and it's called Vape X, and we're going to almost space with Vape X.
V90X.
It's funny you say F4, because I think that we do have F4, and the fourth F is silent, and that for us, for me, what we are doing is we're making it not silent, and that is freedom.
Aye.
We take freedom for granted, don't we?
Yeah,
sure we do.
Yeah, we sure do. And so that's why F3 freedom is really the fourth F, because that freedom to do and be who you meant to be is something that we all granted, and we're all imprisoned by our own fears and limiting beliefs and gestures and so forth, right? Yep. But the idea is you cannot do it. I cannot do this myself.
That's right.
I must engage others. So the antidote to fear, right, is to use it, right? I talk about fear very often like the wind under the wings.
Yeah.
Right? It's going to lift you up. If you are fearful of something, great. Like you want to look for fear rather than run away from it. You want to run through it. And you reminded me of something. I just don't want to forget it. You reminded me of the first time I jumped off the side of a cliff with the paraglider, and he said, are you afraid of anything? I was like, yeah, I'm afraid of the gravity right now. And he said, well, what we rely on when we do what we do as paragliders is we rely on the thermal. He's like, when we get afraid, we get hot and sweaty. He's like, that's actually a good thing. That's the thermal that comes off the earth that lifts us into the air so that we can fly and do what we are meant to do. Wow, Tommy, that's great. Listen, I have some seaside property in Arizona for you, if you're interested.
Yeah.
Wow, that is thick. Wow. Yeah, sure. That's the thermal that lifts you up. Yeah. Yep. That's exactly what happened. All your sweat. That's great. Excellent, excellent work. But there is another analogy though that might be also very useful for those, and this is a real thing. Do you guys know the difference between bison and cows? They're both herds on a prairie in a storm.
I do know this.
Yes, I do.
All right, why don't Italian Jeff?
tell.
Why don't you tell? No, Italian Jeff? Why don't you tell it?
So the crazy thing about storms on the horizon, when a storm is really bearing down, cows will just sit there and they will take the storm and ride it out. Bison will run towards the end of the storm, through the storm, get through the storm faster, stronger, and be able to relax on the other end. They don't wait for the storm. They run through the storm as a herd together. So they get through it stronger, and they don't just wait for the rains to pour and the thunder to clap and the lightning to crash. They literally say, you know what, heads down, let's roll.
It's half right. The cows actually run away from the storm. They run away, and you're right. They run away singularly. They run away, right? And so what happens is, it's not just about running away and running into it, which is kind of a cool analogy, right? But just think about your elementary math. I know you guys can figure it out, right? If the storm is moving at 10 miles an hour one way, and you run away from it at 10 miles an hour or 5 miles an hour, then you're going to stay in the storm hell of a lot longer than if the storm is going 10 miles an hour and you're going 5 miles an hour the other way.
That's right.
Right.
That's also how you fast forward a parade, by the way. If you just walk against the parade and it makes the parade go faster. Just little heads up there. It's fast forwarding.
Wow.
The parade.
I just wish that's how it worked for the IPC, because it's not. It's
45 minutes is still 45 minutes,
45
no matter which way
minutes,
you run.
my God. Well, in any case, I think that this idea of how do you conquer fear is really a misnomer, right? This idea of conquering, our Western minds are so messed up with all these black and white things. And so the idea is it's not about conquering at all. There's no conquering fear. Right? Fear is really the essential ingredient of anything worth doing. Right? But what I found is there is another secret ingredient that is critical, and that is purpose. So fear without purpose is cowardice. Fear with purpose is courage. There's no, right? Just think about anything that you've been courageous about. And most likely you were cowardice about it for a while, and then you got a purpose, something kicked you in the butt, and then you said, wait, I got something worth doing this for, risking this for, and then you do it. And then whatever the outcome is irrelevant. It's not even relevant whether it succeeds or fails, because the purpose is the purpose is there. And so this is why I think what I love about F3 is that if you see a problem, the expectation is that you're going to, if you really see a problem, then you're going to take it on and it's going to be your project.
Yeah.
There's no one to hand it off to.
It's the first F, right? It doesn't get easier. You get stronger.
That's right.
It's your F3 flow. It's not more fun to stretch out a tight hamstring. It's just you can bend a little bit farther each time you lean into it. And I agree that you don't conquer it and own it. It becomes a part of the process for you. It's how you find your way to the F3 Sesame Street that we call Dolphin to Daffodil, right? It's
hey, Tommy boy, can I be a coach?
Please.
A coach for just a second. There is a secret shortcut to self-development. I found one of the many. And that is to change the pronouns when you speak. So right now, what you said was profound, but you use the you pronoun versus I. If you were to repeat what you just said, it's going to sound way more authentic to me, but you are going to come up with real stories and solutions. If you start you, or even worse, we or us or anything else like that, it shields you from the actual action. So try to say I when you say I, not you.
Heard. Thanks, Coach.
You're welcome. The invoice is in the mail, so
perfect.
It's all good. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I shouldn't call you coach then. If there's an invoice, then you're not a coach, you're a consultant.
He's a consultant.
Yeah, then you add another zero to it. So
Oh, it's
yeah.
all good, man. Yeah, it's
Well,
all good.
here's the thing that I love. It's these kind of conversations. We could talk all day about how to hold a Q school or form week, and we have, and they are important. What I love about SWT are conversations like this, because SWT transitions from stuff worth trying to salvation while trying. And it's when what you saw, and I'm using you intentionally, when you walked through the door and met those men where they were, and over over the course of a moment, it sounds like a barrier was broken, a bond was formed, and you rediscovered, it sounds like, your purpose and the potential in others. So this idea of trying things in the business world, we don't like that word. Show me the plan, show me exactly how you're going to get there, and now go and check back in with me every step of the way. Versus the F3 world, which is, I don't like what I see in front of me. I want to change it, and I need 3 guys. Who's coming with me? It's the Jerry Maguire motif. And then, holy crap, we've overcome everything and disrupted the status quo that's been holding everybody back for so long. And now here we are talking with you, and we get to learn, oh man, it's not that he did things differently. He did things, period, and overcame the thing that we allow a lot of us to hold ourselves back, which is fear. And I'm guilty of that too. It's the fear of trying, which is way more exciting than the fear of never trying, because that's the one that you take to your grave.
That who takes to the grave?
That I take to my grave.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I did wanted to correct you when you were introducing me, and the idea of, like, when you listen to Hello Kitty podcast, it's not just with me, it's with Roma, who's one of my grads, and whom I introduced to the F3 as soon as he came out. And so to answer another one of the Italian's jobs original question is, what about our region? Aren't they afraid of doing this kind of work? And the answer is no. And the reason for that is very simple, and that is Roma. He's not the only man I introduced from the inside, but he's the one that has stuck and who has transform not just himself but others, and that's what it takes. It takes real examples. So when people are supporting this program, and I really do hope that you and those are listeners, they can go in and support this F3 Freedom Prison Project. You can, hopefully it's going to be in the notes, the link, but basically it's GoFundMe/F3 Behind Bars, because that was the original name. So check it out. Every dollar that you may donate is matched by F3 Foundation, and the money will go towards the books, Q-Source books, as well as Free to Lead. But most of it will go towards these rucks with all of the essentials for men not to have any excuse when they come out, and for us to establish this continuity from behind bars and beyond.
Years ago, I was afraid of doing any kind of projects around my house, mostly because I don't know what I'm doing. What if I break it? What if I mess it up? And there were a couple of things that helped me get through that fear. One, I had the tools. The tools were there. And having those tools was the first step, because that's no longer a crutch. I don't have the tools, I can't do the jobs. The second part was I had the encouragement. I had my father-in-law, I had my friends, I had my dad that were saying, do it, just do it. You'll learn while you do it. And then the worst part was, if I screw it up, so what? I'll do it again, and I'll do it again, and I'll do it again. Worst case scenario, I'll pay somebody to do it. But it turned into, I needed the experience. I just needed to do it. And then I realized I'm capable of things beyond my own imagination, because I tried it. I succeeded at it. Did I succeed the first time? No. But I now know how to hang a door. I now know how to do, how to put down flooring. I now know how to do plumbing work, because I was given the tools, I was given the encouragement, and I was given the opportunity.
Yeah,
that's a great story.
I heard a great analogy that you just reminded me of today, Italian job. It's not always the tool, it's the need. If you need a hole drilled in a wall. You don't need a drill. You need a hole. A drill will help you. A power drill will help you. What else will help you get that hole that is what you really need. It's like, we may have even talked about it here on a podcast. If there is a need for fish, it's great to teach a man to fish. It's much, much better and way more sustainable to give him access to the pond. Otherwise, there's always a relationship that is built on somebody has and somebody has not. But giving access to the pond helps diffuse that situation.
I think that that's really important. I do want to again emphasize what I've learned inside the prison, and that is opportunities do matter and tools are important, but both of those are not sufficient to actually create action. And that is why most programs fail, most endeavors fail, because I focus on, hey, do I have the tools I need and do I have the opportunity? And if I judge that I don't, then I don't do it. However, what I've noticed is that if I am to identify, as you said, a need, and then I engage with other men or women or people, if I make myself accountable for the result and engage them to assist me, that's the key, sell them on it, the universe responds. And I have an interesting analogy with my clients very often when in career coaching and whatnot, and that is I say that universe is a McDonald's drive-through. So imagine you're touche. But if you were to drive up to McDonald's, roll down the window and say, I am hungry, what are they going to do?
Yep.
Can they do anything? Can they do anything?
Yeah, it depends on who you're working with, right? Yeah.
No,
you gotta tell them what you want.
You gotta tell them what you want. You can't be going around saying, I'm hungry, I'm thirsty. Yeah. And they're like, well, what are you hungry for? And you're like, well, I want some meat. That's not gonna help. Right? You have to say, I want a double cheeseburger with pickles, no onions, toasted, fries, supersize them. You got to give the universe something to work with, and otherwise it's not going to happen. And then you got to involve other people and have them buy the idea, and that the act itself will flesh out the minimum viable product. Will flesh out. We have fleshed out for me. I am switching, right? Have fleshed out for me. What's the next step? We started with Defy Ventures. I started Defy Ventures. COVID put capucha on it, closed all the prison programs. And it really took me down a notch. Talk about fear. I went into a deep depression because all of a sudden the program that was kind of my identity went away overnight. And I had to step down as the executive director of a program because there was nothing to executive direct. And eventually it got absorbed by Defy Ventures National, which was great. And we raised enough money to hire one of the formerly incarcerated men, David, nicknamed Woofer. And he is still running this program, and we have 2 graduating classes from community program and now going back to the prison. I had to step down because I lost my why. I lost my mojo. I let the COVID and what COVID did affect me so much that I let go of my dream or my UVP. And also I stopped communicating with the guys on the inside. For that, I can't forgive myself for even now. There are reasons why I couldn't do it theoretically, but I didn't try hard enough. And so they felt completely abandoned by me. All of a sudden, overnight, I was there twice a week, 3 times a week. I couldn't communicate with them because it's not legal to do that. But I didn't try hard enough. And now as I speak, I want to the best time to fix something is 20 years ago. The second best time is tomorrow. So I'm going to make sure that I'll fix that tomorrow. But yeah, this idea of letting things down is just going to happen, and it's okay. It is okay as long as I know that I embrace and move forward. And that's going back to this. I know we are running out of time, so I just want to turn it to, if I may, turn it as a challenge to the men and women who are listening, especially for the men for the F3. We have this incredible gift, just the gift. Well, it's free to begin with, but the idea of that we have a group of men who are willing to step up when they're inspired. So inspire others, or open yourself to be inspired and join a thing that is really hard. Or challenge people, right? It doesn't have to be a seesaw.
Yeah,
it could be completely meaningful project. And I haven't come up with an acronym. I'm sure there is one, right? But we should totally do an F3 seesaw, but for the third F, and that's completely meaningful and utterly powerful, right?
There you go.
Right, and that, I believe, will do more for me or for you, for the person who engages with this, for F3 region, than any workout, any cafeteria, or even any just normal feel-good volunteer work or a Bible study or whatnot. I think that that's where F3 has this untapped potential. And that's really funny because I talked to Dredd, and I talked about this project, and I said, I don't understand how after 11 years, we are not in every prison. I don't comprehend. It's literally men inside, work out, outside. It's free. Like, it's literally, I mean, the book is called Freed to Lead People. I mean, and he laughed at me. He said, I never in a million years thought that application for that. And he's a lawyer. He's a lawyer, for crying out loud. And so that's the power of F3, is that it allows us, each of us, to untap our own potential by creating something bigger than us. And I just want people to just stop just kind of going through the motion. Stop mascotting inside your F3, as somebody mentioned to me before, that we can all mascot through F3. We can all show up to workouts. We can all go to cafeteria. We can all come to one or two events afterwards. But are you really leveraging this incredible organization for what it's worth? Am I? Right? Am I? And when I started doing it, man, talk about power.
Yeah.
It's not my power. So just a thought food for thought.
You nailed it, Pure Lead. I will tell you, man, this was an honor for me, and I'm probably speaking on behalf of Tommy Boy, but seeing that he's got a big smile and shaking his head, it tells me that he was also honored and privileged to spend some time with you today. We could go on all day, but I think at some point our listeners will have to get out of their cars and come back into the house. So, brother, I appreciate you. Pure Lead, what you're doing for the men that you're serving is an inspiration. And thank you. Just thank you for your willingness to share, for your willingness to lead, for giving us, 45 minutes or so of your time today. Tommy Boy, I'm going to toss it to you, and then I'm going to close it out with a quote that I heard this week.
Outstanding. Yeah, Pure Lead, on behalf of my new life coach, thank I for coming on Stuff Worth Trying. It's ironic, but perfect to say that I was fearful to reach out to you unbeknownst to you initially and offer a little bit of candor about some stuff that you and I first met on. And it's turned into today's conversation. And I can't think of three better men to share some space with on the Zoom. So thank I for coming on SWT. And in all seriousness, thank you. And I look forward to our next steps together as we kick down doors. So keep doing what you're doing. You've inspired me. You've inspired IJ. And the purpose of today's conversation was to allow other men to be motivated to do whatever it is that's on their heart that needs to be disrupted. So T-claps, brother.
Thank you.
Comfort is a drug. Once you get used to it, it becomes addicting. Give a weak person consistent stimulation, good food, cheap entertainment, and they'll throw their ambitions right out the window. The comfort zone is where dreams go to die. We have a comfort crisis. It's creating weak men. Challenge yourself, buck the trend, be better. You know what to do. All right?
All right.
Gentlemen, be good or be good at it.
All right.
Appreciate
see you in
you,
the
man.
gloom, gentlemen. See you in the gloom.
Thank you, guys.